Oh god, what's up everyone? We are here for Newbee Tuesday. I just realized that my Eve is not there. It is. There we go, Eve. All right, so everything's working now. Okay, so what's up? Welcome back to Newbee Tuesday. Every Tuesday we do have a new player-friendly stream going on for you guys in Karma Fleet, Brave Newbies, Pandemic Horde, all you new players in Eve. Even if you're not in one of those organizations, we're here to answer your questions. Joining me today is Manifred, Sideous, one of the lead FCs and people in Pandemic Legion. He created the Slowcat Doctrine, which, if you don't know what that is, it's the Archon blobs with remote reps and sentry drones. That was this man's brainchild, which was still extremely effective in the game today, even with the current state of the meta. Nothing can really stop that big of a hammer with all those Archons, except for a bigger hammer, which is super caps, and not many people can contest that type. So, Manny, if you want, let's go ahead and jump into a little bit about yourself, how long you've been playing Eve, experience, stuff like that.
First, I don't know if I should say hello or sorry, but
It's true.
I've been playing Eve for about 11 years now, and kind of played all over nullsec and lowsec, and um, done everything from small scale PvP and roaming to leading giant campaigns and huge wars against multiple coalitions. So done a little bit of everything. Had a lot of fun. Made a lot of friends. That's what the game's all about. Giant space box soap opera that we all participate in and enjoy the wonderful drama and carnage.
Yeah. So, actually, during my last stream, the H1Z1 stream we were just doing, that you caught the tail end of, one of the people asked me in chat if we could actually talk about not something actual Newbie Tuesday related, but the CSM stuff. And I told him I'd go ahead and hit it real quick. We're not spending too much time on it, but the CSM stuff with Gorga and all that. What do you think about that, and how people talk about how you haven't been able to attend many meetings?
Sure. So yeah, as far as the Gorga stuff, like he just wasn't able to contribute. And for the CSM to be effective, we need all 12 representatives actually participating and stuff. So I it sucks to see him go on a personal level, but in terms of for the health of the CSM and its effectiveness, I think it's the right move. And as far as the meetings and stuff, I make the ones I can. It's kind of hard for they're really early. It's hard for USTZ to make it to some of the early ones. That and I usually I spend a lot of time more chatting with devs on a one-to-one basis about issues, and so I'm pretty engaged.
Yeah, reading the Reddit threads, all the other CSM do stick up for you and say that you're very active. And I do know, because I play other games with you, that you tend to have a moon time zone, so you're typically sleeping around the Euro time zone.
Yeah, I've been trying to fix that. I don't know. I think I must have been like Aussie in my prior life or something because I no matter what happens, I tend to drift to noontime.
All right, cool. Yeah, hopefully we'll see something out of a new dev blog maybe soon regarding Fozzie Sav and stuff like that. But
I
that's
I hope so. Yeah, like we've all been hammering them about several issues that are in the main in the focus of the community at the moment.
so, guys. Just for those little background knowledge, I don't think I mentioned it, but Manny here, Manfred Sidious, also known as Pake, but everyone just typically just called Manny, right? I think is
Yeah, yeah. Just go
he
with
is a member of the current CSM, current sitting CSM. So if you have any questions regarding stuff like that, you can ask them, and we'll hopefully get some time to answer those as well. But to kick things off, guys, we're talking about capacitor warfare. In EVE Online, there's a lot of ways to do capacitor warfare, and we're going to hopefully dig into some of them. Nosferatu, neutralizers, void bombs. I mean, there's a lot of different things, a lot of aspects for it. Well, guys, if you have any questions regarding that or any topic Eve related, make sure you drop them in chat. Like I said, this is Newbie Tuesday, so any question is welcome. To kick things off, Manny, let's jump into Nosferatu. If you want to go ahead and just tell us a little bit about the how NOS works in the game.
So NAS is a pretty cool module, and for a long it wasn't it was in a really unhealthy place for a while, but in the past year or so, CCP kind of rebalanced it and made it much more relevant, especially in small gang warfare. What Nosferatu is it's a high slot module. If it's in your high slots where you would put guns and turrets and launchers, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
and it when you activate it on a enemy ship or something of that nature, it pulls energy from it and it returns a portion of that energy to you. And it's really effective for like small gang and for like interceptors and stuff. You can almost sustain your tackle mods and sometimes your propulsion mod and things by running a NOS. So you're taking energy away from your foe and you're giving it to yourself, and that's like a win-win situation no matter how you go.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things about Nosferatu, guys, is it drains energy from the target and puts it and gives it directly to your ship. As you see on screen here, I do have it picked up. You see energy transfer amount 9.6 for a small, 36 for a medium, and then 120 points of energy for a heavy. And one of the biggest things about NOS that I wasn't sure, I don't think Manny mentioned this, but it'll only transfer energy if their capacitor is higher than yours. Except for I think there's one ship that gets a bonus where it'll transfer it all the times.
Yeah, good call. One of the changes it used to be that once your foe was out of capacitor, it would no longer transfer any cap. The change that they made that made it more relevant was that even when your opponent is out of cap, you'll still receive some capacitor. It's magical space capacitor.
Yeah, so I was like the bonus I was just talking about, guys. Actually, it's a bonus to the Blood Raider ships. All the Blood Raider ships are able to suck energy out of other ships and give them directly to you, no matter what their cap percentage is. So you can see on screen here the Balgorn and also the Kruger was what you saw before. They all have the energy vampires fitted to this ship will drain targeted ship's capacitor regardless of your own capacitor level. And I see Big Zerg asking in chat how do vamps work again. And the way the Nosferatu or the energy vampires work in EVE Online is you activate them, and on 99% of ships in the game, if the ship that you're fighting has higher capacitor than yours, then you will take the energy from their ship and give it to yourself. So, what type of ships in EVE would you typically see NOS on in today's meta? Do you think, Manfred?
So like I said a little bit earlier, I touched about it on it a little bit ago. But so like if you're out soloing and you're in like an interceptor or a frigate or an assault frigate, which are all ships that newer players would probably start out flying, it can be really useful. You usually don't have a lot of slots to put in other modules that will help you sustain your cap.
Mm-hmm.
So on an interceptor or a frigate or faction frigate or something like that, it's really helpful. You see it a lot. People that post videos of themselves taking on 1v1 fights or small fights, them using energy vampires or Nosferatus because it'll help make sure that you can keep your damage control running or keep your point, which is what you use to keep the ship from running away from you, on going. So it's a kind of a safeguard. It just really works well in that on that ship type.
And ask in chat: is it higher numerical capacitor or is it percentage based for the NOS? It's good.
It's higher numerical.
Are you sure?
For
the NOS, I'm pretty sure it's percentage based.
Is it?
I think so.
You might actually be right then. You might actually be right. It's been a while since I actually used a NOS.
If their cap is lower, does that mean that it doesn't drain at all, or just not transfer? It doesn't drain at all. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it doesn't drain at all, but you still get some energy. That energy is not coming from your foe. Again, it's like magical space capacitor that's invented out of nowhere. It kind of takes away the penalty. A long time ago, NOSes used to not have the penalty, so no matter what somebody's cap was at, they drew capacitor. But they changed that, and so now they only work if your capacitor is lower than your opponent's, except for the Blood Raider ships like you talked about.
Yeah, the Blood Raider ships. And does the recons, like the Curse and Pilgrim, it doesn't get that bonus. 'Cause I remember on one of the iterations they had it, which I'm actually looking at the Curse now. They don't have that bonus.
Yeah, that's a whole other subject there.
So guys, if you look at the ships like the Curse, they do get a energy vampire transfer amount. So like it's a pretty big buff, 20% per level for the energy transfer for the energy vampires. And I believe what Manny was just hitting on is before they changed NOS a long time ago, NOS acted like newts, but there was no cap on how much energy they could take. So you could literally run a permanently NOSing Curse or Dominix and stuff like that, and just would never run out of cap. You'd be at full cap all the time, and every time the NOS would cycle, it would pull energy from thin air, even if the person had no energy left.
Good old-fashioned nano newt NOS foons,
Yes.
literally. So much fun.
NOS Dommies, NOS Curses, it was NOS everything.
Yeah, NOS all the things.
All right. Well, and so we hit on Nosferatus a little bit. Now the flip side of that coin is going to be energy neutralizers. Tell us a little bit about those.
So energy neutralizers, they draw capacitor away from your target, just like the Nosferatus, but they actually take more cap and they have no penalties. So you aren't receiving any energy, but regardless of what the other ship's capacitor is at versus your capacitor, it will draw cap from their ship until, well, they don't have any. Mm-hmm. And they're really, really effective in PvP. And I'll let Laz kind of talk a little bit, and then I can expand on that.
Yeah, a lot of ships like they have bonuses. 2 newts will use them, but also a lot of small scale PvP they'll use newts to help cap out reps and guns. But you have to watch out because the energy neutralizers do consume a lot of cap. And I had to mark it up for it. 1 second. Energy neutralizers. Here's just a Tech 2 medium one, guys. Basically, it's a 12.6 range with energy amount neutralized. It drains 180 energy. And if you remember, the vampire, the NOS, was actually less than that amount. Nosferatu. Yep. So the only 36 amount of energy transferred compared to 180 units deleted or taken away. And like
yeah, I was gonna say it definitely removes more capacitor from your target's total capacitor, but like we were saying, the trade-off is you don't get any of the capacitor back for yourself. So it doesn't really help you sustain. You use it typically in a different way. In the fleet environment, or especially capital or super capital warfare, one of the easiest ways to break someone's tank is to kill the capacitor off and turn off the resistance modules, making your damage that you're applying much more effective. So in today's fleet environment and capital and super capital environment, remote assistance in the form of energy transfers, remote armor, remote shielder is highly effective in sustaining incoming damage. So a energy neutralizer does exactly what it sounds like. It neutralizes that energy. It makes it impossible for them to keep on their hardeners and things that are allowing them to receive effective reps, and it makes it easier for you to kill them.
And to quickly discern between the two, again, NOS and energy neutralizers. The NOS, you gain the energy that you take with the NOS gets put onto your ship if their percentage of cap is higher than yours. The newts just gets rid of the energy, it just deletes the energy from the game, basically. And the NOS is typically going to be put on ships that that are either have a buff or a special bonus to it, or it's going to be on a ship that is trying to use the NOS to keep guns running or reps running and stuff like that without having to use cap boosters. So it's like you see some of the Federation Navy Comet fits will actually use the Nosferatu or the medium Nos, or not medium, small Nos to keep his guns running when in a brawl. And then you'll see like the crew will sometimes use a Nos, just different setups for it. And then the neutralizer is going to be typically a pure offensive module to help and neutralize cap and get DPS off the field.
Yeah, for sure. So like Liza's saying, the NASA has a offensive and a defensive component to it. It's a little mix of both, and then the neutralizer is purely offensive.
Well, I guess it's not purely offensive because you can. Because some of my roaming ships, I actually put a medium NOS or Newt on it. That way, if a frigate gets on me and tackles me, I can Newt it out and break tackle. But it's almost all the time it is going to be a purely offensive module.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they can definitely come in handy if you have an extra high slot and you're not sure what to put there. Sometimes a Newt can be really effective, especially if you're running a kitey setup where you need to make sure you're not getting webbed or tackled. You can Newt off the webs and the scrams and be able to kite away. So yeah, there's lots of applications. But like I said, it's mostly for an offensive purpose.
And like Random News said, ships that use a lot of capacitor, which is going to be hybrid rails, blasters, laser ship, any type of laser ship, and then anything that's running active reps is what you're going to want to use capacitor warfare to kill, because they're going to have above average tank if they're using like dual rep setups, and if you're not going to have enough DPS to break them, but their DPS is going to be lower if they're having so much tank. So just using the newts and the NOS and stuff to kind of lower their capacitor is going to be a big bonus for you.
Yeah, NOS and newts kind of get lumped into the electronic warfare family, even though they aren't. One thing nice about them is they're, especially with the energy neutralizer, is it's a sure thing. It's a no-fail module that you can use to apply control against another target. Whereas things like target jammers and things like, jammers are chance based and RNG based, and so that's one thing that is nice about the new when considering modules to use to create control.
Yeah. So as a PvPer, how do I fight against NOS and newts?
Well, they definitely have limited range, so that's the easiest way. And then there is a module in the game that's not commonly used except for when you know you're going to face somebody that is using cap warfare. It's called a capacitor battery. And what it does is it reflects part of the neutralizing effect back onto the target that's neutralizing you. So it's kind of like a reflective thing to guard against newts. I think the Tech 2 variant reflects 12.5% per neutralizer back to the target. So they're kind of niche. You wouldn't typically use them unless you knew you were facing an opponent that was going to be relying on cap warfare. But it is a form. It does create counterplay to capacitor warfare.
All right, so would you think you'd ever see large capacitor batteries on any type of subcapital ship, or do you think typically the only time you're going to see them is, say, on a carrier? And would you recommend a carrier to carry multiple of these?
PL's slow cat doctrine, the one that we use, has capacitor batteries as one of the required items to carry with you, and that's if you're being primaried by 100 Archons and you put on a bunch of capacitor batteries, you can really mess them up while they think that they're doing something to you. Wow. So it is effective, but again, it's something that you only use when you know your opponent's going to be using this. Yeah, the easiest thing to do against newts is just to keep them at range. If you can control somebody's range or have higher speed than them, then that's the easiest way to combat capacitor warfare.
All right, so looking at chat, Primer for the one asked in chat, do you feel like Nos newts are somewhat unfair against ships of the Amar Master Race, since they are much more cap dependent than others?
Um, so here's the thing about Eve. Um, it's never exactly fair. Um, but you know, there's you have choices. So if you know you're going to be fighting an opponent that's going to use capacitor warfare, well, then you probably want to use missiles or projectiles because they don't use capacitor to do damage, or drones don't use need capacitor to do damage. There's lots of different ways to fight against capacitor warfare, but it's just like you know, it's rock paper scissors sometimes. Like your enemy brings capacitor warfare, well, you bring drones. Now his capacitor warfare really doesn't affect your damage application, or maybe you have a passive tank and he can't shut off your hardeners. You know, so there's always counterplay. It's just picking a well balanced setup that's going to work in, you know, for the purpose that you intend it to.
Okay. Well, it also helps if you know what you're going to be fighting against, or kind of, like I said, be prepared for what you're fighting against. And then let's see. When Satonia just joined chat, which Satonia, by the way, guys, is a pretty phenomenal PvPer. He makes PvP vids, and I believe he does work for Eve is Easy. If you're ever looking for some Eve how-tos, you can check there as well. And him joining chat made me remember the thing about newts, guys, is you have to take into account cycle time, or not cycle time, but recharge time of the capacitor. So you don't ever want to, once you completely drain a target, you don't want to keep those newts on at the same time. And you want to eventually start staggering them, and that way you can keep getting rid of their recharge and keep all their modules turned off.
Yeah, and that's something else. You know, like a medium and large newt has a slower cycle time than a small newt. So another thing you can do for counterplay against capacitor warfare is having a capacitor booster, and basically just hitting your booster and then hitting your active modules that need capacitor at the same time, so that way you're able to use them in between the cycles of the neutralizer or Nosferatu.
Yeah. Let's see. Another form of capacitor warfare, guys, is void bombs. So you want to go ahead and explain what void bombs are and how they work?
So void bombs are a ammunition that a stealth bomber uses in a module called a bomb launcher, and they fire basically this giant bomb at your target, or the direction your ship is pointing when you activate the module. And when the bomb explodes, it removes capacitor based off the signature of the ship that the bomb is interacting with. So it can really remove a lot of capacitor from anything battlecruiser or larger. It'll remove a lot of capacitor from. So it is signature based on how much cap it removes. So it can be fairly effective in against larger ships, or in a fleet environment where you can potentially hit multiple ships with one AoE bomb.
Yep. And I'm looking at the bombs now. Energy amount neutralizes 1,800 units of cap, so that's a pretty big amount. So if you have multiple void bombs going off at once, you can very easily nuke out lots of ships. And then also, talking about void bombs, what about the focused void bomb?
The focus void bomb that does a higher amount, but a smaller radius, right?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's more if you're trying to hit like a particular ship, or you know, perhaps like a capital, you would use the focus void bomb and really do a lot of remove a lot of cap, but you're your margin for error or the amount of ships you're going to be hit will be reduced because the radius is smaller.
So basically, guys, you never want to use the focus void bombs ever. Please don't ever use the focus void bombs. They have a 1 meter area of effect radius. 1 meter.
Yeah,
it's literally.
I was just going to say what you're going to say next. Unless you can have 100% surety that you're going to be completely accurate, then they're not worth it.
Yeah, well, and also we had some guys do the math, and apparently, like it doesn't really even hurt anything that's transferring cap or anything like that, unless you have tons of them. I mean, like you might be able to instantly no cap one with enough of them, but it's just so hard to actually land it. Then it's not really worth it because you could bring battleships like the Geddons and Dominixes and just other newt ships that will be much more effective. But then you also have to take into account cat batteries if they have cat batteries fit.
Yeah, I haven't ever used them, but yeah, they don't seem that great.
Well, they're literally 0 on sale on the market in Amar, so that's how useful they're or how much they're used.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep, and like Drew was saying in chat, guys, Archons, things that are going to be cap transferring between each other, supers, then there's really no point. Like Dreads, back whenever pastas used to be gunned, I could see these being really useful, where you would nude out siege Dreads with these bombs while the extra large guns are shooting them. That could be an interesting setup.
I've been in some very long fights with slow cats where we were tanking for an extremely long period of time, and in those situations, the void bombs, just the sustained pressure of void bombs and newts and implied damage can take a snowballing effect over time. But yeah, it's definitely it adds another layer to PvP, which I think is always cool. One thing I like about Eve is that the PvP is very dynamic. Like there's so many different weapon systems and things to take into account that makes it so dynamic, and I think that's exciting. That's one of the coolest things about Eve.
Hey guys, looking at the stats between the two, the Focus Void Bomb, as they're talking about in chat as well right now, it does have more HP. It's got a longer flight time, so you can launch it from farther away. It is slower. It's slower though. Actually, I don't think you can launch it from farther away because no, you have to launch it from the same distance because the regular void bomb's faster, but yeah, it's the same distance. Never mind, ignore that. I'm dumb. But it does have more HP. Yeah, you got more armor here. Same hit points. Of course not, but yeah, more armor, more structure, or same structure.
It could use a little tweak, maybe not much, and it would be it would be pretty relevant. Like the range or the 1 meter range needs to be increased some. If they did that, it would be a little bit better, worth using.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Satonia, have you or you sold subcaps or anything? Yeah. Anything that's not sitting still, like Satonia saying in chat, is basically don't use focus void on. And typically, you're not going to find focus voids anywhere in the game, anyways, unless some alliance specifically makes them for a certain tactical reason. I mean, other words, you're not going to see them anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, literally, in my mind, when we're sitting here talking about this, the only thing I could really see using them against is maybe Titans. Yeah. And you would have to use them in mass.
You'd have to use them in mass, but also Titans typically don't have a ton of carriers with them. Typically, unless you go through Declan, they have people gate camping with Titans right now in Declan.
Wow. Be right back.
Oh.
You just a ping.
What? Oh yeah. Could kill him. Well, most capitals have smart bombs, and also most battleships these days have smart bombs, because smart bombs are kind of been listed as the easiest counter for them.
Yeah.
because if you just time them and you watch the distance and then you pop your smart bombs when they get into range, and it's pretty easy. The last shout out to the squad that there's been a Nosferatu aggravating local Ishtars. How would you counter one? A neutralizing Stratios? Oh well, I mean Theta squad just camped the gate with six Titans, and then every time he jumps through, he can't cloak back up, so they kill him.
So against the neutralizing Stratios, just keep range from the Stratios itself and shoot the drones.
Yeah, because the Stratios doesn't get a neutralizing buff, so where is my energy neutralizer? I think it's 10k.
Yeah, for a medium.
Yeah.
Tech 2 is 12, I think.
Yeah, it's 12.6k for Tech 2 guys. And then if he's using Unstable, which Unstable's the best name, typically you want to buy Unstable anyways. Oh, they're expensive. Or a lot cheaper a few days ago. 12. So typically you want to use the Unstable. Pretty much same stats all around, just less fitting.
So just keep range from the Stratios and kill the drones. Easy peasy.
I don't rat, so I don't know what the situation typically would come to where he ganks you. Yeah. Or just pay attention like everyone says. Now everyone's talking about stunt floors in chat. Sideous, I know, and hang on. Well, just wait. I mean, just pay attention to local or pay attention to intel. Like if you're in your group's intel channels, you'll typically know when a target's coming way like 4 or 5 jumps before he even gets to you, so you can be safe and out of the belt. Let's see. So talking about neutralizers and NOS with Stratonian channel, he actually has a really cool Geddon fit that I've tried a few times with some success, and then lots of failures because I get blobbed by 10 to 15 man gang with Falcons. But the Armageddon's a really good ship for capacitor warfare because it does get a 10% bonus to energy vampire and energy neutralizer range per level, so 50% bonus. So you get like 38 kilometer newts, I believe.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
It is.
Yeah, it's 37 kilometer standard, 42 kilometer overheat. It's really nice.
And then you also, it's got a bonus to drone hit points and damage, so it fits in well to a lot of doctrines. It doesn't have to really rely on tracking because it can fit guns in the highs or just go full newts depending on what you need.
Yeah, or torp launchers, whatever. Cruise launchers, rapid heavies, whatever you want to do. It's really flexible.
It gets really good drone DPS. So if you look at Setonia's his Armageddon video, you see a lot of really cool fights, mostly against the Imperium, but you get good fights where you can. Let's see, what else can we cover? Yeah, by the way, guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in chat for myself and Manny, or if I don't know the question or Manny doesn't know the question, we do have people like Setonia and other experts in channel. I think Black Snow was in here, and he's usually pretty smart. Let's see, Armageddon is also a really good battleship if you have low SP. Yeah, of course, we're just reading as what Tony's saying. Armageddon is also a really good battleship. If you have low SP, you can just fit a ton of nukes, smart bombs, in the highs, which require very little skill to use. Then you can be really useful at nuding capitals. That's true.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's easy to get DPS out of drones, easy to apply DPS with drones, and then you have so much utility in the high slots that you don't have to commit to weapon systems.
Well, the important thing there is, Saturnian mentions nuding capitals and just nuding anything in general for Armageddon, is the biggest perk that Armageddon has is its newt range, so you don't have to worry about getting in range of other battleships where they can counter newt you or do anything like that to you. You can stay back away from people and newt. And if you're using it as a solo PvP ship or a small scale PvP ship, you can use the long range newts to newt the kiting ships and force them to have to come into range. And a lot of the kiting ships aren't going to have enough capacitor to survive multiple waves of heavy newts anyways.
Yeah, you get in trouble, you newt off the scrambler, and then you just MJD to freedom and sail off into the sunset.
Let's see. Let's see. There's next question in chat. Laz, what do you think about the current state of E-War in general, having named modules be far more useful than T2 variants? I mean, CCP's been doing a lot of the module tier side. I don't think they've gotten to newts and NOS yet, so they could be changing that once it is releasing.
It's from what I understand, they plan to get to it. Where it is on in the list
Mm.
of Tiericide, I'm not quite sure though, but they definitely do plan on getting to it.
Mm, and let's see. I know I'm missing some stuff about capacitor warfare. Let's see. Newts, NAS, void bombs,
Capacitor
fast
batteries.
batteries. Oh, energy vampire drones. I think it was still in the game, right?
Oh wow, yeah,
Ah,
yeah. You
tell us
see,
about them.
so they function like energy neutralizers, um, but they're drones. So you can have um, they're very niche, but if you don't have any high slots to commit to capacitor warfare modules, you can use them, TM.
I,
Um,
I don't
and
think anyone has ever used these drones ever.
I've used them, seen them used in the tournament setting,
Hmm.
but that's about it. I don't know. Maybe Satonia is better to answer. Maybe he's seen them used or something like that. But they work like energy neutralizers. They're little drones, and you can send out the really good part about them. Well, I guess the only good part about them is they aren't range dependent, so you don't have to get within tackle range or
Hmm.
something to do capacitor warfare to your target. So that's kind of good. Um, but when you hold them up against a damaged drone, it's kind of hard to rationalize using them. Like I said, they're very niche. Um, but I mean, who knows? Like maybe there's somebody out there that has come up with a setup that would make me look really stupid for saying that they're really niche and shouldn't be used.
Yeah, so according to Satonia, once or twice in the tournament, but other than that, you don't really see them because they're really, really bad. Oh.
Yeah, in most situations, you would just take a damaged drone. They're, just you get a finite amount of resources uh, for damage application and to be able to use to
Hmm.
kill another ship and to commit fire, to commit your drones slots to um, energy neutralizing drones.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to really rationalize that, but to each their own. I mean, who
Yeah.
knows?
Well,
Maybe some of
Symphony is basically saying the same thing in chat right now and talking about how they instantly die to smart bombs and stuff like that.
yeah, they have low hit points. I mean, I'm not trying to sound too off-putting, but they're pretty terrible.
And Sandwich makes a good point. Talk about is there a way to know how much cap the enemy has left? And yes, he answers on question basically ship scanner, kind of nudging us in the right direction.
Oh, good call.
Yeah. So in a lot of fleets, you'll actually have battleships like the Armageddons and Balgorns and stuff like that. They'll actually bring a ship scanner with them, and they will check the cap percentage and let the rest of the fleet know when to quit neuting that target and switch to the next one. So like whenever we're in our Dominixes, there's always one or two people in fleet that'll have ship scanners, and they'll know they'll call out to the fleet itself what the cap percentage is of, so you can swap newts. So like if Manny drops blap dreads on my Dominix fleet, those people will be able to tell us how low the Revelations or Moros's cap is. Because we won't bother neuting the Naglfars because Naglfars have capless guns, and we will just want to clear the DPS of Revelations, Naglfars, and stuff.
Yeah, and so it's one of the coolest things about Eve, and one of the worst things about Eve is the learning curve. Like one of the worst things is there's so much to learn, and one of the best things is after 11 years, I'm still learning about this game. You never stop learning about Eve.
Yeah. Random noob asks in chat, can you use newts like a point, like drawing all the caps so you can't warp? The answer to that is no. You can't do that because you can, even if you have zero cap, you can always warp a short distance.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, that would be kind of interesting though. If you completely newed out someone, they couldn't warp anywhere. That'd
I
be
think
fun.
it'll warp them at least 1,000,000 kilometers. That's the minimum warp distance.
And everyone keeps mentioning the rigs and stuff like that for capacitor warfare. So
Yeah, yeah. There's a few different rigs. I'm most familiar with the ones for transfers, not so much the ones for neutralizer or NUS. Um, I'm actually gonna let you explain. because I'm not
Yeah,
sure the stats on them because I've never used them.
I had to find the right one. It's been so long since I've used them. I used to fly around with these on my curse all the time, and it's actually the egress port maximizer. It's a ship modification designed to reduce ship caster need for all energy emission modules, which I'm pretty sure that I don't want to tell you guys the wrong thing because I'm pretty sure this is the right rig. Let me make sure though. Enter what the fuck am I typing? Yeah, egress port. Okay, I was right. Estonia and everyone in chat correct. All right, guys. So the egress port maximizer, never 20% capacitor bonus need for the newts, which is extremely effective. You can whenever your sole purpose in a fleet is to newt, you could use these to help maintain cap, especially when your curses and your pilgrims and stuff that are medium tier. That aren't gonna have the giant capacitors or the heavy cap boosters or cap transfers from guardians. You would want to use the egress port maximizers. However, in fleet combat, when in your Armageddons and stuff like that, you definitely want to go with Trimarchs or something that's going to give you a little bit beefier or a tank because you're going to have other people to help newt you there. But small scale, the egress port maximizers is probably more bang for your buck than the extra HP.
Yeah, I've used the port maximizers in kind of a different way, but with energy transfers, you use them on ships so that way you can use the energy transfer and not use as much energy from your ship and make your cap stable. So yeah, they're they're pretty effective in that setting. I've never used them with the neutralizers or NASA.
Actually, speaking about cruisers and medium-sized, small-scale stuff, so Tony, you might know the answer to this. How effective are like singular newts on cruisers and stuff like that right now in the meta? Like, if I was to go roaming in a rupture with like autocannons and newts, I mean, is that a decent setup? Or even going farther than that, how effective is the Ashimu right now? Because you never really see Ashimus out doing PvP.
Poor Ashimus. They've always kind of been decent, but not really great, like you would expect them to be.
So,
They look really cool. I wish they were good.
well, they get a web range bonus, I think. Yeah, they get the web range bonus, which I believe the Battleborn gets the same thing.
I think the problem with them is they have a pretty terrible tank unless they've changed those stats. So like you can't get the damage out of them plus tank and the control. Like they can't do all the things as well as like a
Mm-hmm.
curse. I mean, of course, the curse doesn't get the web, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so I'm looking at from Satonia saying in chat. Typically, a newt site is really crippling to a ship below it. So, like, if you're in a rupture fighting frigates, then you're going to wreck that frigate with that newt if he gets in range. Um, and what he says, a cruiser versus cruiser with medium newts without any type of bonus to the amount newted is going to take a very very long time to newt out a minute, which a minute is a long time in a fight 1v1. And now he's further explaining the Ashimu, which, guys, by the way, like says Tony is very very knowledgeable about PvP, especially small scale. Manny and myself are typically large scale type guys. Let's see. He says Ashimu is a ship which is doing 3 ships jobs at once while being okay at them. Web Loki, Old Pilgrim, DPS Cruiser. It's useful when you have 5 people in fleet where every pilot counts, and doing all these roles at once can really help. Any more pilots than that, and you're better off just bringing a Curse, Hugin, or Zealot. Okay.
yeah, pretty much what he said.
It wasn't I also okay.
The heavy new curse. Urgandus, Urandus, sorry. Asking in Twitch chat, what are my thoughts on the heavy new curse? It's kind of niche. I mean, it's cool. The curse is kind of in a decent place right now. It used to be a lot better, um, but you know, like. Uh, I think what they call it the snipe nuke curse. It's pretty cool in these situations, but there again, it's something that you want to use with friends. It's definitely not something you want to take out by yourself. Uh,
I hear about the sniping nuke curse about once a year. I think about people. Oh my god, look, I can fit a heavy nuke, fit a heavy nuke on my curse, and then basically you give up everything on that ship just to fit that heavy nuke, and it sits at like 90 kilometers, I think, is the nuke range on it, and then nukes from there.
yeah, I mean it's kind of in the same vein as the people that talk about, oh, geez, you can fit a 10 in MWD to this frigate if you put all, you know, modules to increase its uh, power supply. And yeah, you totally can. And you're going to go really, really fast when it finally gets up to speed in like a year. And then you're not going to be able to do anything else other than go really fast. So enjoy that.
And see, someone brought just poked me in jabber, talking about capacitor warfare and some of the rigs, and he says the cap control circuits, which is going to reduce the recharge time for your capacitor, which means you're going to recharge faster, which could help when you're being neuted. It could be if you're being neuted and you have the CCCs on, you're going to have faster recharge times so that you can keep those modules running a little bit better between their neut cycles. Then also mentioned the semiconductor memory cells, which increases the sizes of the capacitor, which is going to increase the time it takes to actually neut you dry. I know Pandemic Legion actually messed around with both those rigs on their triage carriers because of the jump cap changes, or not changes, where you jump in and you lose 70% of your capacitor. So they were jumping in with more net capacitor with these semiconductors. But I think you guys swapped back to the CCCs.
Uh, it's still up for debate, but yeah, it definitely works like that. So you would jump in, you lose 70% capacitor, you take off your capacitor coils and turn on, you know, like cap power relays, and boom, you've got a lot more cap, and you're quickly recharging. So used to be you could literally jump into system with um, the cells on, and then take them off, and then before your session change timer was up, jump back out of system and never be targetable. So they were kind of rigged.
Let's see. And just reading chat still, guys. Satonia is doing a really, really awesome job. Thank you so much for the assistance here, Satonia. NOS only drains when your cap value is lower, and like we were talking about earlier, guys, a lot of times you're going to see NOS on frigates. Frigates is going to use NOS to hold points, keep their reps running, or keep guns going when they're under nuke pressure. And a particular instance that Satonia mentions is an interceptor where you're trying to hold tackle. If you have a NOS fitted, because of its cycle time, you can keep that point on for longer. And the way the points work in Eve is even if you run out of cap for the module activation, it's still going to finish that cycle. And by the time it hits the end of that cycle, then you should have enough cap from your NOS back to be able to keep that point going.
Yeah, one of my favorite ships like that to fly is the Dramiel or the Daredevil with the NOS, and it's really great. Like, you never have to worry about losing tackle because of cap. The NOS just cycles so much faster than like larger ships. Their nukes or anything.
For comparison, small Nosferatu, Tech 2, 2.5 second cycle time, and the energy neutralizer small Tech 2 is a 6-second cycle time. For comparison for you guys.
Yeah. So it works pretty good in that setting.
I'm just gonna have Satonia run these classes from now on.
I know, right? I feel like you had the wrong guess. This should totally be on here, not me.
Hey, Fungus, what's up, man? Welcome to the stream. Let's see what else we got to talk about. This is also really important if you have cap-dependent guns. It's not super important if you have cap-dependent or dependent guns, because a lot of times you'll be designed around different stuff. Like if you're in a Comet, sometimes you run a NOS to keep your guns running. If you're in a laser ship, a lot of them actually have recharge bonuses or cap use bonuses for their guns. to kind of balance that out. But like you mentioned, the Newt Algos is super good. The Newt Tristan was really good, but I think they nerfed the Tristan just a little bit. So anything that's going to be using like drones and stuff like that, where they can just go full newts in the highs, it makes it really effective in small scale PvP.
Yeah, so I mean, you just when you're fitting your ship out and stuff, you just want to think about, okay, well, what do I want to do with this ship, and how am I going to use it, and do I need to be cautious about newts? Do I have counterplay to newts or capacitor warfare? And then, as long as you have those things in mind before you like undock, it'll really go a long way for you. And if you are using newts and NOS, then well, you probably want to get in close. You want to be able to stay in close. So you'll probably want something like a scram and a web, things like that. So that way you can control the range and keep your capacitor warfare applied. So it's there again. Like if you get a laser ship and you've got a utility high, then a Nosferatu is probably a good thing to put in there, or a newt to counter newt off of webs and stuff, so you can get away and not have all your capacitor removed or suck drive from capacitor warfare.
Well, in chat, random noob asks, maybe not really NOS Newt related, but cap boosters. Are there any reasons where I would want like smaller cap boosters instead of the largest ones? No. I'm assuming you mean charges. You always want to go with the biggest charges inside your cap booster. Actually, I've seen some PvPers that actually go with smaller cap charges, but I don't know why. But
Well, here's the only reason I can think of why, and I think you're pretty much right in most circumstances. Let's say if you're running a ship that you only need so much energy, and you can get that energy out of like a 400 cap stick, then you probably don't want to run an 800 cap stick, because then you're going to have to reload more often with the 800 versus the 400s, and that's energy that you can't utilize that somebody else can nude off. So that's the reason to run the 400s over the 800s. So it's based off of your energy needs.
Yeah. Oh, and apparently, Tony just mentioned also, if you're getting nuded, you want to go with smaller charges. So you instead of like a medium cap booster, you can only fit a single 800, or you can fit multiple 400s. So if you're gonna be nuded, then you fit 400s, and that way you don't have to worry about the reload cycle, and also you can time your boosts against their newt cycles and keep injecting.
Yeah, and if you're, like I said, if you're being nuded out and you're only needing for the cap that a 400 stick gives, and you're injecting an 800, well, then you're just giving away all that energy for free, which you don't want to.
And in regards to capture warfare and cap boosters, though, you always want to overheat your cap booster. If you're using a heavy cap booster, try to overheat that last charge. That way you don't burn out your booster from so many uses. But if you just heat that last charge, that way it gets into the reload cycle quicker, then you're going to be able to get that cap reload faster, especially in the mediums. The mediums you always want to overheat the mediums all the time.
Yeah, they most of them, especially the higher meta, you can overheat them literally, I think, up to like 9-10 minutes.
That's ridiculous. Well, granted, if you're not overheating other modules in your mid rack.
Yeah.
But heat, as a new player, guys, thermodynamics is one of the most important skills you can train. Thermodynamics, you want to get that very, very quickly, because there's so many different advantages you get from thermodynamics. You get a DPS increase from overheating guns, you get extended web range, extended tackle range on everything with heat. You get increased speed from prop modules with heat. There's faster cycle time out of your cap boosters. There's just so many different things.
Yeah, you can use overheating in pretty much any PvP setting, from 1v1 all the way up to the largest scale fleet fights. So yeah, definitely a worthwhile skill.
Yeah, at least we talked about the EV drones and how garbage they are.
Yeah, I wish I had something nice to say about them, but I just really don't. The only thing I can think of is you don't have to be in newt range or counter newt range or tackle range to apply energy neutralization through the drones, but yeah, damage drones are just going to be better.
Yeah. Let's see, different size. I've actually done that before on a few of my curses, Sutonia, where you go mainly medium or main mediums and then one or two or smalls. That way, once you nuke their cap, you leave one of the smalls on to keep it cycling for the regen. It's
Yeah,
it takes a lot of micromanagement. However, a lot of the high skill PvP in Eve is a lot of microing.
I always ran 2 medium newts, 1 medium nos, 1 small newt, 1 small nos.
Grandis, why is the Navigeddon Redeemer so sexy? I don't know, but the skins like this, the Amara made it so well. Like the look at the skin. The skin's so good on the Armageddon. Good. I have to buy it maybe. I've gone PvPing a few times with Armageddon, and I haven't done as well as Sutonia, but I think in Sutonia's video he probably lost like 20 of these Geddons to get just a few fights. Which I guess, since I'm going to fangirl Sutonia a little bit more here, and it's a kind of a Newbie Tuesday question, is in last week we talked about E-War, is as a solo PvP or small scale PvP or Sutonia, how do you counter ECM? Like if you're going around solo and you're Armageddon and you run into a 10-man gang, do you just sit there and die while they ECM you, or how do you typically counter it?
Yeah, I'm not so much a fan of ECM. There's not much counterplay to it.
Run
Other
first
than
ECM every time.
yeah, yeah. It's just
I know, but typically they don't decloak their falcons until after I'm engaged.
yeah, it's pretty horrible. Like tracking disruptors, you can slow your ship down to adjust to compensate for the tracking speed issues, or you can control your target's speed to compensate for tracking speed, or you can get closer.
Swap ammo and all that. I mean,
Yeah, and damps the same thing. You can get closer. UCM, when they get a jam, it's just literally sad times. Literally life in jail.
the past two times I took out the Sutonia Geddon, I've ran into 10-man gangs, and it was like, no, I'll brawl. Like I had this really good brawl with the Sutonia Geddon, where I could have killed this entire 10-man gang. Their main DPS was a Proteus, and I had a completely neutered out. The Proteus was doing 0 DPS because of newts, and then they had a Griffin jump through the gate and jam me.
Yeah, I used to run around in a Sleipnir all the time by myself, and I ran into that quite a few times where you just like Falcons on, jamming you from 80, 100 kilometers and just literally typing in local. I want to play spaceships too.
Rip. Let's see. Fungus. So Laz going to a newt ship room. We're probably going to do a newt ship room today. Tomorrow from 4 p.m. U.S. Eastern until 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern, we are going to be roaming in Eve. I'm going to fit out, like after the stream today for Newbie Tuesday, I'm going to fit out a bunch of ships and go roaming in Eve. Which Manny, you're welcome to join me tomorrow if you're around tomorrow afternoon if you want to go roaming.
Sounds good.
And
We'll have to start from low sec because I think my sec status was like -10.
you just buy some tags and get it up.
Yeah, true.
Let's see. You're not poor. You're rich as hell. I'm poor compared to you.
I'm rich because I don't spend any ISK.
That's true.
That's the way to go.
So guys, if you have any questions for Newbie Tuesday, any questions at all, doesn't have to be on Capacitor Warfare, it can be on anything, period. We have a lot of people with a lot of knowledge in the game. Like I said, myself and Manny here are a little bit more knowledgeable on the larger fights in Eve. Sutonia is in chat. Sutonia is extremely good at smaller scale solo, PvP in general. You can also counter newts if you live in Declan and have an avatar squad booster. Is the avatar bonus that big, like to counter newts? I don't remember how big the actual avatar bonus is.
37.5% at Mar Titan 5.
Oh my god,
It is pretty big.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah, like pretty much in super capital fleets, you put an Erebus in fleet command, and you put avatars in wing, or vice versa.
Well, yeah, I knew that, but I meant for like the subcap consequence.
Yeah, it's 37.5%, so it will like counteract a newt.
Interesting.
It's pretty huge.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's nice.
Xanari asked in chat, Sutonia, how do I win with newts in faction warfare? Laz, how would newts affect a massive fight like BR or BR5? 60, so the 37.5% regen is effectively 60% more regen, according to the math. And to answer Sutonia's question, how would newts affect a massive fight like BR5? In the middle of 10% tie-dye, they don't really work.
Yeah, the big fights like that, the only thing that matters is just pure unfettered alpha.
Yeah, because you get a ton of reps coming in, so if you can't like completely take huge chunks of HP or alpha ships, then you're not going to really kill things. And newts aren't really effective because they're like smart bombs and they cycle, but they don't do anything.
Yeah.
Because if you look towards the end of BR5, once the tie-dye started lowering, the CFC at the time changed to newt dominixes and started newting out the caps to 0 before they were primarying them. See what other questions we got. Come on, guys, keep the questions coming. I think we covered pretty much all of it. I thought this was going to take about an hour, and I'm actually pretty dead on the time here. Yep, just like Memory Alpha said, and they're able to kill more effectively because the tie-dye was lower, and with 100 newt dummies, they were able to tap everything out pretty quickly.
Yeah, so capacitor warfare, like you said, anything up until you get to the point of, oh my god, 10% tie-dye and soul-crushing lag are effective. Once it gets to that point, the only thing that matters is how much alpha you're doing.
Yeah, we if you look at the Imperium and other battleship doctrines right now in the meta, is a lot of them will carry a newt in the cargo. The biggest thing in EVE right now is refitting. Refitting is part of every single null sec doctrine. If you look at NC Dot, Pandemic Legion, Goons 4, or Imperium, and if you look at every major entity in the game right now, they all have a list of modules that they carry in their cargo, because you can refit off mobile depots, you can refit off of carriers, you can refit off Titans. So if you're about to bridge into a fight and the FC can easily make a call to refit depending on what the hostile's already jumped in with. So you can refit right before you jump into a fight. Refitting is extremely effective, and it's probably the most overpowered thing right now when it comes to triage in general. Triage carriers in general. Is the ability to refit, like Dominix's. If you lose a flight of drones, you can refit drones out of your cargo into your drone bay. So there's a lot of different things. Realistically speaking, is Brave able to kill a super with 30 dummies plus 15 dummies when the super is supported by 5 other supers? 45 dummies versus 5 supers. Probably not. 45 dummies can't beat 5 supers.
I mean, yeah. In all practical terms, no. In a vacuum where neither side gets any help, it's possible that the dummies could eventually kill a super if they're
able to bump them away.
Yeah. It's all about controlling the super, getting it out of range of reps, and keeping the sustained cap pressure on the chain, things like that. Perhaps so. In a vacuum, maybe so. In all practical situations, not so much.
I'm reading chat. Can you bump a neuter far enough away to be out of newt range of you? That seems very, very hopeful.
It's kind of counterproductive. The best thing to do is just open range.
Yeah.
If you're able to get enough velocity to bump the neuting ship away from you, it's probably just better to use that velocity to open range.
You killed an interceptor by bumping him, so he was unable to warp out. So killing something slower than that should be easier, right? What? I mean, I don't know. An interceptor's pretty nimble. I mean, it probably could have just pilot error that you're able to nuke him that way. Like I said, guys, tomorrow, 4 p.m. U.S. Eastern till 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern. Which is 3 hours ago, which is 2000 Eve. 2000 Eve is when I'll be starting some Eve PvP roaming, and I believe Manny's going to join me as well for that. So If you guys
Yes.
don't have, I'm going to give you another minute or two, ask any more questions. If you don't have any more questions, then we'll start winding things down. Thanks you guys all for tuning in, and thanks Manny for coming and answering questions for us. And thank you, Satonia, for being here to save our bacon.
Bail us both out.
I mean, like I said, we do the higher like numbers PvP stuff. Then you have people like Satonia and Fintaro and Sardcade, and all the others like small scale PvPers that do the alliance tournaments and stuff like that. I mean, they know so much about a different aspect of the game. Like small scale PvP is completely different than what we typically do.
Yeah, and now I used to roam 6-8 hours every night, every single night for years.
That was me until the nano nerf.
Yeah, the nano nerf killed it for me. Now I just do large fleet stuff or alliance tournament, and both of those don't really apply to small gang stuff.
Well, it looks like we get another question for Satonia in chat. Any question for an easy ship to start solo PvP? The Tristan was really good, but they recently nerfed drones. I'm not sure if it's as good. The Federation Navy Comet is still super good. Federation Navy Comet, super good. I would recommend a railgun fit with structure HP rigs, damage control, and a small armor repair. Actually, I don't know if one of these are filled up. I can show you. If not, I'll have... Tristan's still amazing? Okay, yeah. So Tristan's still super good. I don't think either of these are fit. Here, nope. But yeah, basically 2 railguns, and I think a NOS in the high or a new fits. I don't remember. Look at my fittings. It is. Yeah, so it's a Newton high, afterburner, scram, web. This is a pretty effective, actually really effective low sec ship. I've gotten a lot of kills in this in low sec while I've been trying to learn how to PvP. Tristan's still OP. Breacher, Merlin, and Curses, Kestrel, Tormentor, top tier. I have a Breacher right here that I keep meaning to go and play with. That Namaimai gave me the fit. Oh, Namaimai is also a really good PvPer if you were looking for advice. He's always hanging out in the streams as well. The Breacher form I told is actually a really good PvP ship. Get rockets. It gets a bonus to the boost amount for the auxiliary shield booster. Look at my last history as True Randus. Yeah, I had to go pretty far back because it's been a while since I flew those.
That actually looks fun.
The Breacher? Yeah, the Breacher is actually a really good ship.
Yeah, it looks fun.
Yeah, no, I equals Alorum. Thanks, Astro. The Monty J, why Afterburner rather than NOD on the Fed Navy Comet? Because with the railguns, you're basically going to be going into the complexes, and what you want to do is maintain range, right around your scrambler range. So like 7 kilometers, keep it range 7 to 8 kilometers, keep it range, and that way you can just keep moving away from them and use the newt to kind of break.
Yeah, one of the other problems with railguns is a lot of times when you use an MWD, you literally ruin your own tracking by using the MWD. So
yeah, they do have tracking issues. So, I mean, you want to carry antimatter. Want to go ahead and carry long range ammo as well to kill kiters. And what is the close range? Is it Spike? I think you want to carry Spike.
Spike is the long range. Void is short range.
You want to carry Void. No, it's not. Void's Blaster. It's Javelin.
Yeah.
Javelin. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
You want to carry Javelin ammo as well for the railgun because it gets a tracking bonus. It gets a 25% increased tracking bonus, which is pretty helpful for railgun tracking. Later, Andis.
See, buddy.
Let's see, NVD Blood. Yeah, there's actually a really cool comet setup that is basically, it's called Man Mode, the Man Mode comet. I believe Zal Amadeus came up with it, where it uses double web and neutron blasters. so that basically it charges you with NWD, double webs you, and overloads all of its guns for maximum DPS, and it tries to kill you before you can warp out. So that's why they call it man mode, because you have no point. You just double web.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
It's actually really, really fun. It's the same thing with the Enyo. There's an Enyo fit the same way, and the Enyo is actually hilarious. I had a man mode Enyo, and I brawled three frigates I was brawling, and I killed two out of the three before I died.
Wow.
It's like 450 DPS or something.
It's probably terrible now, but I used to fly the RD Punisher. The super tanked RD Punisher, or autocannon Punisher. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of the other ships I've had some luck with is the artillery Firetail. The Firetail is super, super cheap. So if you're looking to get into PvP, the artillery Firetail with a tracking disruptor that I stole from Sardcade, which I don't know who he got it from, was actually pretty fun. But I think that's about it, guys. If you have any other questions, you can always send me an email in game. I can get it answered for you. If I don't have the answer, I will find the answer for you. I have a new video coming out, I believe, next week for Eve on probing. So if you want to know how probing works for combat, like PvP probing, that's what that video is going to be covering. And other than that, guys, I will see you tomorrow. We're streaming Eve Online from 4 Eastern to 7 Eastern. So hopefully we get a lot of kills. Mandy's going to be there with me, and we're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, be good times.
Good times. So thanks again, Mandy, for joining me, and you guys, I hope you enjoyed this Newbie Tuesday.
The Falcons, please.
The Falcons, yeah. No E-War, TIA. Thanks in advance, friends.
Right.
We can get fucking E-War to hell. Every single ship we're going to run into is E-War.
Yeah, it's like every time you watch Rise and Fozzie do a stream, they're going to go out roaming. You know, there's like 20 guys headed right to where they are with Falcons.
Yeah. Well, when I was the Alliance tournament commentator, I did. This is when I first started streaming Eve, and literally every single engagement was nothing but E-War because they knew how obnoxious it was. I'm trying to find something on my stream, and before I turn it off, oh, there it is. All right, guys. I'll see you guys later. I'm going to play the intro one more time, and then I'm going to cut the stream.